Welcome back to WGLNA. We have match number 2 scheduled up for you guys with Soviet and featuring, of course, RUlette up against Time Out. RUlette has been on I would say, a downswing as of lately. We've seen them in better times, but we know because they've been, champions before, they have the capabilities of ascending to that top level. What do you think it is this season? Is it the format? Is it just the cohesion? Is it, obviously the roster changes? Like, what do you really think is going into the mindset of RUlette these days?
I think you actually hit on most of the important points. The new season with a new format is throwing things off. So while they were very competent when it came to 742 and they were able to win out last season, this season everything's changed up. Everyone, every team, Simp, RUlette, yes, Arbus, the Cunninghams, Hammer Time, all had to take a step back, and because of that, they kind of have the same starting point as everyone else. They have the same information to start out with, and now it's about how do you play tanks with these new conditions. So instead of being that far ahead, they are now just along with everyone else, and it's a matter of can they keep up.
So do you think they haven't been able to learn the style fast enough relative to the rest of the competition?
I think that they've attempted some style in the American way to go with that meta, but I think they're also drawing from the European and Russian metas, which in their infancy, because they're not as well developed either, they're still getting better. Even though the Russians and Europeans are considered the titans of World of Tanks, they're still learning things about the maps. And when you draw from people who haven't truly mastered this format yet, while they are still the best, there are little things that RUlette may not have picked up on that their opponents in Europe and Russia may know about. So there's holes in what in their knowledge right now, and that's probably hurting them.
Of course, definitely so. They're right now sitting at 13th place, and 14th place is going to be their opponents. Timed Out. Both these guys, Timed Out was looking for a playoff spot. I think they're actually relegated out of that contention right now. But RUlette does have a chance. Make sure you guys tweet at us all tonight at twitter.com/WGLNA and also Facebook us at facebook.com/WGLNA. And you can tell us the question of the day, which is who are you rooting for to make it to the playoffs? This is going to be tough for RUlette, but they do have 5 matches left in the season to finish out strong and get to that playoff spot. It's hard. They need wins, and not just regular wins, or not just any ordinary wins. They need regular wins, not the overtime wins, because they need those 3 points.
And now we do have an interview ready, but it's only going to be with Timed Out today. I believe it's Raul. Raul, welcome, sir.
Oh, well, good night to everyone.
Of course. You guys no longer have a chance to make it to the playoffs. I know that's probably really saddening for your team, but you still have matches left in this season. What are you guys looking for? What are you going to achieve?
Well, we're at the moment we're gonna try to achieve the comeback. I mean, the comeback not for the playoffs, but the comeback from the losses we had in the beginning of the season. So actually, it's just like a step to training, right? We just never have to stop playing the game. So we're just going to refresh, and that's it.
So you guys are taking this very seriously instead of just blowing it off. That's really great to hear.
We're not gonna blow it off. We're not gonna blow it off. We're gonna give our best. We're trying to push our limits at each match. So we're just not gonna give it up. No way. It's not gonna happen.
Now, does this mean you guys are going to be more adventurous with your stuff, or are you going to try to do solid play and just win off of that? I mean, how are you really approaching this upcoming match without giving away too much, because I'm sure the other teams are probably listening in too?
Yeah, we're going to try to be a little bit adventurous. I mean, look, after what happened to Simp, our BIS, and our other opponents, probably we just got some attention. So basically our strats are easy to understand, so we're gonna try to change some stuff.
Okay, I want to also ask, have you guys taken a look at the impact you could have upon teams like RUlette, the Cunninghams, and I Love Lamp as your final matches, and where you defeating them would actually leave them in the standings?
Could you repeat that, Rukil?
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Have you taken a look at the way beating RUlette beating the Cunninghams and beating I Love Lamp would damage their place in the league?
Yes, we took a look about it, and no, we can't just we have to make timed out happen, right? I know it's nearly all lost for us, so we are gonna try to just give it our best. I know RUlette is has a lot of battles. I Love Lamp as well. They're like near us, right? Not near us now, but near one each other. So I mean, we're gonna try to make the hard from them to maintain there. That's gonna be our job. We're just gonna give our best to try to make them, you know, don't maintain the level. Just go to another level, a better level. You know, just try to upgrade, get better.
Well, Raul, I love your warrior spirit. I respect it so much. I respect the commitment that you put into the league and to your team. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the battlefield. Good luck, sir.
Thanks, man. Thanks, RUkill.
Good luck. Man, I mean, there's something to be said about that. That no matter what happens, you pick your head up and you're able to just push through. And that's really how you become a top-tier team. Not a top-tier team. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
But that's how you get and rise and elevate to that level.
Oh, gosh.
That's how you ascend to that level of, you know, being one of the best in a league, in a group of people. You have to just keep getting up. And, you know, a lot of the very best of anything has failed more times than you've even tried.
Exactly. And this is a team that is one side of a coin that we haven't gotten to see very much of, which is the team that consistently was just failing and failing and failing. They were not able to get any wins. They were barely able to get a battle, and they didn't get discouraged. There were other teams in the past in this league that have done the same and that are now have now completely fallen apart. But you have to give it to Timed Out that they have actually managed to take in those losses enough lessons and managed to improve themselves enough to the point where they're seeing significant wins against opponents that you must respect the results.
You know, in my notes, I have in the beginning of the seasons, I have like bad tank positioning, bad movement overall. And as I go forward in the weeks, I'm actually seeing strong standard play, looking better. This is the type of stuff where you're adapting and evolving your play and your play style and your cohesion in a group. And that's going to be really important against RUlette, who, let's be honest, has experienced a lot of turmoil, a lot of strife within their ranks, as they've said in interviews. They've said it multiple times. It's definitely up in the air, I would say, with this particular match. But we got to remember, RUlette, they're the one on the chopping blocks. They need a win here in order to go into the playoffs.
And now for battle number 1, RUlette will be the attackers, the red team. They have 2 5100s, 3 IS-3s, a T-32, and a T-37 on their attack. Timed Out for the defense, 2 5100s, 3 IS-3s, an IS, and a KV-3. Now, you may be confused a little bit to see a T-32 on Himmelsdorf, but...
I ain't confused.
You ain't confused?
I ain't
Okay,
confused.
good. But I'll take the opportunity to explain its purpose.
Please
anyway.
do.
Okay, so on the attack, a T-32 can still play the hold-down game. Now, while you may say it seems like that's a really defense-oriented mentality, no. There's so many different pieces of geography on Himmelsdorf, piles of rubble, plenty of keyholes, and a position that we may be able to point out in a little bit over in Charlie 3, where we'll be looking at a T-32 being able to lock down a position that no other tank could do nearly as effectively in 742. So hopefully we get a chance to see that. But if it does come down to a straight-up brawl, T-32s, I think, are generally weaker than the IS-3 in that the alpha is not quite there. The DPM is nice, but they don't bring what the IS-3 does to the battlefield.
Oh, brutal. Raul is going to take the first shot from Yurkamolo. There is, I mean, we have seen this lineup from Timed Out before. Raul actually got picked off a bunch of times from the castle tower all the way, the hill all the way on the top side. So it looks like they're going back to what they know best. And let me tell you, I think this is a very polarizing opening from the defenders over here. This is a chance for them to get ahead a lot in time. You can see it's 5 minutes in. Normally center pushes are actually happening at around the 5-minute mark. Not the case over here. They're able to buy a lot of time and slow this game down as much as possible. That being said, they also expose RUlette pretty badly here. And Valera Desolator is just going to wreck face.
Yeah, he's going to get a free kill here. However, this is going to pull a trigger. And that is from the members of Timed Out who are going to start putting a crossfire on him. You've also got Gundorfo and Cess moving in right now to punish Valera, where usually a team won't cover well enough to truly punish getting a kill there. And so you're going to have a bit of a trade out there. 5100 Valera for RUlette and some position. Now, hit points are something we have to pay attention to, as Timed Out has lost about a good 2 or 3 shells in favor of RUlette. So now we've got 7,800 from them. Timed Out, 7,000, just about 7,100. And now game is rigged. Has been detected, which could prompt a push in from RUlette to take the North Cap.
Oh yeah, they need to be very careful and actually back up. I'm talking about the defenders, of course. Mad Knight is reverse angling over here, side scraping, as I know you love to call it.
No.
But
Reverse angling.
This is a tough position for the defenders. Yuvud is in a position where he's trying to brawl up against 2 IS-3s, and it's tough to do this. I mean, you're in a situation where there's an overmatch in the north side, and Gandorfo, yes, he's able to take out a tank, but at what cost? At a lot of DPM is removed from this center defense.
Yeah, and now, just now, tanks are starting to get into proper positions to begin supporting, but Mad Knight and Nip are going to have to play their hearts out in order to try to make something happen here. Mad Knight is able to deal a little damage, but there are too many tanks here for him to deal with, and so we've got 3-on-1, better focus. RUlette's going to start taking the lead. You can look at the hit points, far in favor of RUlette.
Definitely kind of a misstep in terms of just the direction. I think so far Timed Out has just been reacting this whole game rather than having a clear plan and having like a cohesive way to win this game. They've just been saying, oh, there's a tank out of position here, let's go for it. There's a tank out of position here, let's go for it. And RUlette, they've been the ones to say, okay, this is our trigger, let's push in here. Okay, they're out of position, let's try to push here and have some sort of plan B to be able to have a combination attack.
They have also a safety net, really. They paid attention to the fact that, yes, they could send a single 5100 in to kill RUlette, but they knew that there would be a follow-up, there would be a response. And with that, they planned for it. And they were able to come out ahead because of that, because of some future planning and the ability to recognize what your opponent's response was going to be, thinking steps and steps ahead.
That's right. Down goes, game over, and there's only one tank left. That is Gandorfo all the way on the side. And now he's realizing that segmenting off a pretty insignificant tank over on the left-hand side wasn't too worth it. Down goes Timed Out. RUlette will take the first battle in a very convincing manner. That's not normally what we see. You know, you were showing me the stats before, a 66% win rate for the defenders on Himmelsdorf. Just with the standard, I would say, just with the standard northwest hull down, you just wait until your opponents push in and you play it very, very defensive. That's not really what we saw. We saw more of an aggressive defense by Timed Out, and it looked like it just didn't work out all too well. They need to just sit a lot more, and that's a style that I think a lot of teams don't really like, but it's the best.
Well, I think what Timed Out's trying to do is they're trying to add an extra layer to the standard defense. If your opponent goes with a strategy where they go up and over the hill, where we've seen RUlette engage from before, then what can happen is RUllette's position can be used to waste time.
Yes.
And play for that, because later in the battle it will come. It'll start to have its effect, but you won't really realize it until it's too late. But if they move in from the southwest or the northeast, positions that RUlette does not in any way really interact with, he can become a very quick flanking force. It's just that when they have that direct right down the middle standard attack that I think Timed Out has a plan for, their execution this time was not to the par that they've been able to reach.
I think we've seen really good play when they actually deny all the way down on Tank Alley. They get like a tank there, you know, just really quickly off the beginning phase to put shots down and say, hey, hold on Tank Alley, and then they just move back to the northwest. That works out well, but I think on that D line, it's very difficult to be able to substantiate that just because there's a lot of wraparounds into the center. We're going to find out how both these teams will adjust, though.
All right, as tanks go, we've got two 5100s, three IS-3s, a T-32, and a T-37 for RUlette. Much the same as last time for their strategy here. And then timed out, we'll be bringing two 5100s, three IS-3s, an IS, and a KV-3. That IS KV-3 able to deal plenty of damage when needed, but not the most durable hull-down tanks, which is one reason why I'm a little skeptical maybe when it comes to that as a choice for what you're going to have on defense.
Just got to get the moving wall, man. KV-5. Actually, RUlette has brought the KV-5 on this map as aggressors before.
It works.
It does. It can work.
It can work. There's a few little things that have to go into it, but if you play a KV-5 well, and there are individual players who seem to know exactly what they're doing in that, because it's great for credit grinding and when you're pubbing it up. And so you get that depth of experience. You know how to drive it well and how to shoot well, all of your positioning and how it works on Himmelsdorf more than a lot of other players.
Definitely so. Update on an off-stream match. It looks like Cunningham's will take it 5-2 over Fun Gaming. Pretty decisive win there. Cunningham's still looking to edge out Hammer Time in that second and third spot. Of course, second spot will go to the finals. That's why Cunningham's are really trying to make zero mistakes. Tonight we'll see Hammer Time and whether or not they can take that win and stay ahead of Cunningham's. They're only ahead by 1 point.
Yeah, just one. And Timed Out has a defense which is probably not one of the most it's not the hardest defense, I should say. That's what I should say. It has weaknesses, and its strength is in its ability to be flexible and its ability to react more appropriately to curveballs that your opponent's going to throw at you. So RUlette can bring a standard attack to this defense that Timed Out has in the Northwest, but with Timed Out's preferences for the way they'll deploy early on, they do have more options for their response. One example is probably Cess in the IS, being all the way down the 3 line in about Echo 2, Echo 3. And with that, instead of that tank being further to the north in the train station, it's a few hundred meters, well, actually just about 100 meters further south, which means it's that much farther ahead in its ability to react to an attack from RUlette and then become a flanking force that much quicker.
Yeah, definitely so. And we're going to see that push across pretty soon here. I love this. The tanks are stopping right before getting to this crossroads. That way they can accelerate and move at the fastest pace possible. It looks like they do eat some damage, just around 1,400 damage, which is pretty standard. What they need to do, though, is take out Matt Knight and Uvud. If they're not able to take them out, this is a very difficult position for them to be in, because they're just going to be, well, surrounded and killed eventually.
Yeah, they'll just be whittled down. Now the flanking force is moving in, which will be Gendorfo and Nip. Cess coming with them as well, able to also verify that nothing sneaky was happening. However, they will miss Game is Rigged moving in from the south and possibly flanking or putting on that cap. In the meantime, Nip has begun the engagement with Valera. They've slowed the cap a little bit, but Nip is almost down, cannot take another shell. Just at this time, we will have Asbil moving in on the flank, and he will take down Nip. Good counterplay from RUlette, predicting their opponent's counterplay as well.
Yeah, but this is still very tough for RUlette to pull this off. I mean, pushing across there and not taking out those 2 hold down positions in the A5 quadrant really hurts them so much, because it gives more time for Timed Out to get that surround, as we were talking about. And even with the engagement and reading into it, RUlette reading into what's going to happen, it just wasn't enough time to get those back shots, the back shots are still going to happen, actually.
Yes, and now we've actually had a crucial bounce that may have delayed a little while. Never mind. It's going in favor of Timed Out. These kills that they've gotten at the very end, I was wondering if the IS-3 was going to have an effect. And now Cess is on a standoff with Game is Rigged. Az has run off to the south in his 5100. And we have no support yet for Cess, but Uvad will be coming in, and Matt Knight is on another angle of support. Game is Rigged. You're down. It's really a formality at this point of damage being able to be dealt.
I think so. I mean, there's no way for RUlette to win here. And, we have the very standard defense, I would say. Actually, I wouldn't say it's super standard, since there were 2 tanks in that C4, C5 area for Timed Out. Normally, you only have 1 there just to have more mobility and defending against stuff. But the center push, I mean, let's be honest, that's like happens 80 to 90% of all of these games on Himmelsdorf. It's the center push, going straight up the 5 line and trying to rush across and maybe get a quick cap.
It's not the most elegant of maneuvers, but it's
Definitely not.
It's the highest probability that you're going to get, especially with the amount of time that you have to get from spawn all the way out to where you have to find this defender. And that's going to be it. Timed Out's going to take their defense as we switch sides.
Yes.
So now where they were the defender, they are going to have their opportunity at attacking. But Timed Out on the attack, I don't know how you feel, but I'm not as confident.
Obviously. We normally look at Himmelsdorf and say, okay, the defender should win twice, then you switch off, the defender should win twice. So it goes 2 and 2. So for RUlette to be ahead 1 battle, it actually puts them ahead since there's statistically a 66% chance of holding as the defender. So it's looking really, really good for Timed Out. Nevertheless, I mean, this is just a solid standard play coming out of Timed Out. They knew how to deal with this center push, and they were able to fend it off pretty easily. I want to see how Timed Out executes their aggression, because I think there still is room for skill level to be discriminated. Why aren't people using that one line, or I shouldn't say the one line, the A line nearly as much? Because I feel like coming through all the way from the top right is a lot safer than doing that crossover.
Well, with the holdout positions that you get in the Northwest defense, you are able to spot that. And with that, the angles, the amount of time you spend in the open exposed to 5100s and IS-3s that are lined up in a firing squad, you spend so much time out there that you're very likely to get tracked. And once you're tracked, the hull-down tanks can also begin putting fire on you. There's more guns that stay on you as a target longer than if you just do the short cross from the south. It is less obvious, but it's been played enough. Now, I do need to point something out.
Go ahead.
Timed Out Gaming is 2 and 11 on their attacks. They have 2 successful attacks, 11 unsuccessful. So I'm waiting for them to pull out some kind of miracle here.
It's going to be tough. Let's go into battle number 2 in this match. It's match number 2 of the day, RUlette versus Timed Out.
And looking at the tanks, we have 3 AMX 5100s, 2 IS-3s, KV-3, and a T-29 for RUlette. On the attack, Timed Out's going to bring 3 5100s, 2 IS-3s, a KV-5, and they're going to put Cess in a 5916, which I think is going to prompt a different strategy from RUlette, as they're going to head south with a few of their tanks. Valera leading the way in his 5100. They're going to try and catch that KV-5 in transition.
In transition to where?
Well, looks like from the 8 line north is what they're expecting. Putin lining up Valera north.
Oh, makes sense. And get the crossfire into Tank Alley.
Yep. And now they're looking south, a little blind fire in that direction, but you can see from the minimap that Timed Out is not heading that direction. And so this maneuver from RUlette, it's not going to hurt them too much, I expect, but it won't gain anything for them. But you can see that little maneuver. They're reading their opponent's positions, their tank choices.
Yes.
And with that, they're trying to come up with counterplays on the fly, which I think Timed Out is recognizing that exists and therefore altering their strategy in that respect.
I think this is awesome. I think both teams are playing this well. I mean, as you said, RUlette trying to adjust based on just the tank compositions. And it's almost like Timed Out knew about that, said, well, tank alley pushes are going to be very difficult to overcome. So let's go to the west side, and let's see if there's going to be a transference of tanks over to the east yet again. Looks like Matt Knight will take a little bit of damage here. A bit of damage. Need to be careful. I mean, he's really derping up into this west. They're going for cap?
Yeah, that's a cap with a KV-5. This is new.
Huh.
They're just going to put a KV-5 on cap at a really awkward angle and just cover it with a nice crossfire, I think.
Well, if he doesn't move, they won't be able to see him.
That's... Oh, okay. Now they're just going to put a 5916 behind it.
It makes sense, man.
It's a fast cap, really.
Yep.
And Toplim's trying to find an angle to fire on Matt Knight to delay this cap, but he can't find it. It just doesn't exist where he's safe. Actually, there is one. He does have one, but he takes fire directly from Matt Knight if he does that.
Let's really focus, though, on the flanking tanks over here. We got Valera Desolator and Az going all the way into Tank Alley. Also, Master Putin is coming up here. And they're going to try to get these crossfires. Hopefully, the base can be, or the capture can be stopped. But man, that 5916 needs to be dealt with, that's for sure. And how are they going to deal with it? It's up to Valera Desolator and the rest of the guys. But they're going to be meeting a lot of tanks over here, a lot of heavy tanks over here on the G line.
All right, there goes Matt Knight. Just in time for Vacuum. Now, as from all the way down in Foxtrot 8 makes the shot to get the 59-16, Cess goes down. And now, fire from Gandorfo is punishing Game is Rigged and Vacuum. The two of these tanks caught in a crossfire may go down soon, and that's a large hole in the position of Timed Out. Oh, sorry, of RUlette, who they'll lose their 2 tier 7s maybe, but that could allow Timed Out a little more flexibility in their responses.
Oh man, unfortunately Game Over actually stopped Nip 100 from getting to behind cover to defend against this arsenal of attacks coming in from Valera, Desolator, and Az, and he's going to go down. So they actually lose the trade over on the G line. Things are just not working out for Timed Out. They're just falling apart, of course, with no flag cap. RUlette can just wait here, and they can let the timer go. And they really do not have to push in and try to close out the game.
I guess you have a point there. They can try and work with that, but you have, I think, still some options alive for Timed Out. They're not so far behind, I think, that they're done, but they do have only 4 tanks alive next to the numerous tanks from RUlette that are still driving around the map. So I think you may be right with that judgment. It's just, it seems a little bit far out to call it yet, because RUlette can still make mistakes, I think, that could ruin this.
Sure.
And if they send Top Limb or Vacuum gets caught or Game is Rigged gets caught, those tanks will go down very quickly, which I think if Timed Out were to play this well enough, they could certainly bring this close. But you're right, maybe with 2 minutes 30 seconds, it's not quite enough time to execute that.
There's so much space that they need to take to be able to engage. Obviously, engagements won't be great, so they're looking at fast caps. Let me tell you, fast caps will not work too well over here on Himmelsdorf. We haven't really seen it. Oh, no, that's not true. We've seen it like one or 2 games so far in this league, and it just does not happen, and normally it's a mistake from the other team. With so many tanks littered across the defenders, it's just going to be tough to do anything to get this win.
Yeah, I think what they can do is they can take this time to try and think about what they'll do next battle.
Yeah.
And try and explore the positions and try and mess with RUlette as much as they can. Just, put a few shells here and there. Just kind of keep them on their toes. Don't let them get comfortable. Even though they know it's won, they still have the pressure of executing well to make sure that they don't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those pressures. If you make a mistake right now, you lose. And now it's in your mind that you can't make any mistakes. As long as RUlette keeps that out of their head, as long as Timed Out can try and put that in their minds, then we've still got a match here.
It's true. Now Yurkamolo is going to come in from the side. Gandorfo not paying attention. And finally will turn, try to put shots out on Yurkamolo.
But Yurkamolo does not connect in a volley for 727. And Gandorfo still has shells as Yurkamolo backs off.
Gandorfo out in the open, though. I mean, never good to be staying in the courtyard for too long, let's be real.
Yeah, there's that. He doesn't have the greatest cover, and I don't think he respected that someone would actually fire at him from Bravo 5 all the way up in the north there. Now Yurkamolo is not connecting another shell. Could have gotten the kill on Gandorfo and tried to kind of clean this one out, but now Game Over and RUlette are moving in aggressively against Valera.
Unfortunately, this is all a formality at this point because there's no real win condition. Even if these guys were able to take out every single tank, or at least use all their shells they possibly could, by the end of this time, they still wouldn't have enough damage to kill all the tanks and all the HP that exists unless they, like, ammo racked all of them.
Or they just, yeah, that would be a crazy situation. You're right, it is formality at this point. There goes Uvad. Gandorfo takes in Yurkamolo. They're at least making a good show for it, I think.
Yep, they're not giving up. It's the warrior spirit, my friend.
And there it is.
Never give up, never surrender. Maybe it's the Buzz Lightyear spirit.
Did he say that?
Never give up, never surrender?
That was him? I feel like that was some other movie.
No, it's definitely Buzz Lightyear.
Okay, I'll believe you on this one. He was never my favorite character.
Understandable. 2-1, though, advantage for our friends RUlette. I mean, they're looking a lot more solid than their opponents so far. It's a solid defense. I like the thought process of the fast cap, using the KV-5, shielding the 59-16. Definitely makes a lot of sense. Little bit gimmicky, and RUlette eventually found the right shots to stop the cap and make it work.
I think that's the most important part that you pointed out. They found the angle,
Yeah.
right? RUlette found the one angle, and it turns out it wasn't that difficult of an angle to find. The 5916 was simply exposed to a shell from the east. He lined up perfectly with 3 openings between buildings. There's just that wide of a spot that you could have just moved in there. I don't know why TimeOut didn't cover it. Maybe they just neglected to think about the fact that it was a possibility for your opponent to send a flanking force that way, and that they could make a shot at that distance, because it's not that far.
Well,
it's only about
like
500
Obi-Wan,
meters.
for every time they strike them down, they're just going to come back better and better. And now that they see that there is that opening, they're going to cover it. I mean, that's the point. They said they were going to be adventurous with today's games. They're going to really explore, try to get better. And I think they're doing things to kind of break the stalemate that is Himmelsdorf, try to be a little bit more bold with their actions.
Yeah,
and see what works.
because when you go into practice, it's not going to have the same pressures and the same effects.
definitely
Your
not.
strategies just won't work out quite the same as when you go into these matches. So I do love the fact that they're experimenting with that.
That's right. Well, battle number 4, ladies and gentlemen. RUlette is up 2-1 in this best of 9 series. Let's jump into battle as we get ready for our last battle on Himmelsdorf.
All right, 3 5100s, 2 IS-3s, KV-3, and a T-29 for RUlette. The red team defending still. And Timed Out will bring 2 5100s, a single IS-3 this time. They'll bring it up to 2 KV-5s, and then they'll have Cess and Uvad in those ISs. So a few more hit points. They're going to go with that. This is probably as many hit points as we see on a team. 10K, 320, next to that 9850 we see from RUlette. That's a much more standard number you'll see. I kind of feel like there's some kind of special line that you've crossed when you've gotten into that 10K hit point range on your lineup.
Yeah. I disagree heavily with the lineup. I'm going to go back to 2012, 2013. It's IS-3 or nothing. Let's be real, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can rely on an IS-3. It's proven to work, but what we can say is we haven't explored the capabilities of tanks like the
true.
KV-5, the T-29, T-32 on these maps for a year over. No, they were assumed to be inferior. And when you see small alterations or you see shifts in the meta, sometimes it's worth it to just look back.
How clever is this, man? The KV-5s, ordinarily you're thinking, okay, you go up Tank Alley, they're going to be huge buffers for that center push cross. But in both of these battles, we haven't seen that at all. It's the west side going for a cap, and now it's actually making the slow, treacherous march up the hill and then down again over to that A line, and they're going to beeline it across. Are they going to make an artificial wall?
No.
Are they going to make, or just going for cap?
What they're doing is, I think we had a conversation about this earlier, which was across the A line, right?
Yeah.
The KV-5 across the A line. It's going to pull guns in that direction, and the only tank that's going to possibly even survive that trek is going to be KV-5s. They have the hit points, the armor, and what's going to happen is you're going to see the 5100s from RUlette fire into KV-5s.
Yep.
They're going to pen a lot of shells, but the angle of approach is such that they're going to bounce a lot of shells because you're going to have a slightly angled side armor and well-angled front that's going to be moving very quickly, so you're not going to have the opportunity to aim at those very specific weak points on that profile, whereas any other tank approaching that direction is going to just absorb every single shell and bounce nothing.
Man, I actually like the approach of the other tanks, too, if we really talk about it, where they're preparing for some sort of conversion into the A5 quadrant, right? If we just take a look right now of where the rest of the guys are setting up, let's look at Cess. I mean, they're expecting to go and cap over here. The KV-5s come across. There's going to be a lot of crossfires in this direction. So they're going to have the 5 line. They're going to have the D line kind of shut down since they have RUlette over there and NIP 100.
And take a look at those KV-5s. They are absorbing a ton of damage right now. Only now Matt Knight is starting to take damage, and it is starting to hurt. He will go down, but Valera has 2. Az has 1, and Az is going to go on the reload, opening the doors for Timed Out to move in. Game over. Can get on cap. Uvad, Gandorfo, Cess are going to wait in the wings for their moment to strike.
Man, so difficult for Timed Out to really get this going. Looks like the KV-5 will move over into this location, try to take out Vacuum. Of course, as we talked about, it's really important that you take out this hull down tank so it stops stops the stopping of Cap if they ever want to go for that. Master Putin going to be targeted down now.
And now we have an interesting call. What we have is an overmatch in the north, and it's chasing after the majority of the roulette tanks who've decided, you know what, let's go for Raul. He's alone. Let's overmatch him, destroy him, and keep this moving. We don't want to be surrounded, and we don't want to be caught in that kind of a crossfire. Now, they are having trouble dealing with Raul. They've got a lot of tanks on reload. They're going to lose Putin in the retreat, and Az is taking a lot of damage, but it's been enough. They have slowed down the aggression from timed out. Uvat and Cess can't continue forward very healthily, and now Valera has enough health to take on the two of them by himself.
Wow. Very difficult situation. Obviously timed out in a position where it's pretty unwinnable again. 1,100 hit points now to 3,600, and just 2 tanks remaining. Gandorfo, barely alive. He's putting out some good damage though, but it's just not going to be enough. Down he goes, and game over. KV5 has a lot of hit points, but not this many hit points, my friend.
Hero mode KV5.
It would be nice. Just hide that little R2-D2 unit in the front.
It's hidden.
It's hidden, but the back is not.
No, it's not also angled much at all.
No, it's definitely not.
It will bounce shells, but not when you point it straight at the enemy. However, it is a little adorable to see KV5 do this. Give him that.
Oh, bounced, but I think he's dead right now.
Are you sure? Hero
Oh
mode
my
KV5.
God, he is hero moding. Oh, he was able to kill one before losing.
I love it.
All right, RUlette going to pick up the 4th battle. Hear me out on this. Okay. This is how we get the KV5s to cross the A line. Hear me out. Okay. 50-100s are actually going to go over to the 3-4 line and force the tanks that are watching over on the A4, A5 line to actually move their turrets around, thinking it's going to be some surround. Then the KV5 shoot across, 5100s back up. They're actually reverse angling over on that 4 or the 2-3 line because they're preparing to move forward to retreat, and then they're going for that center push. Just that 3 to 5 seconds that it takes to turn the turrets to move at the KV5s is enough time for the KV5s to be safe and get the center line. What do you think, RUkill?
I think that strat has some merit, yes. It could work against an opponent who's never seen it before. And that's about as far as I think you're going to get. Once an opponent understands what's going on, they see those 5100s in that characteristic position you're going to put them in, they understand that maybe there's KV5s up north, it's going to fall apart. Your opponent's going to be able to divvy up their forces.
You mix it up with the 5100s being there and then the KV5s being right around, and you just flip with those constantly to keep the opponents guessing.
You don't have that maneuverability, though, with the KV5.
It's true. It's true. It's tough to do that. But remember, the KV5s could have gone to the A line, or they could have swung back around to tank alley and shoot across on the D line. So there is some commitments that the KV5s could have done to be able to do both of those lines and at the same time threaten, a push around on the west side or over at the north side. It's something to think about. Yes, it's not bulletproof because, let's be honest, it's Himmelsdorf.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Very difficult. But it might give them a little bit more chances to brawl and not take so much damage in the very initial stages where, let's be honest, that's when you just get alpha to shreds on your first tanks.
Yeah, Himmelsdorf is a hard enough map, but now we're moving on to Prohorovka, very different setting where light tanks are going to be what we're looking for out of performance, and that instead of those KV5s for heavy hit points, we got T32s and hull downs.
You know, I love me my T32s on this map. Clutch, what have you done? Okay, wherever you are, you've converted me somehow or another, okay? I believe in the T32s. I've always believed.
And for tanks, while we have a moment, a T32 for either side, 1390 for either side, 3 RU251s for either side, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs for either side. Mirror matchup here.
You know I love me my mirror matchups.
It's going to be good. It's all about
positioning. A lot of times mirror matchups actually favor the defenders, very obviously, because if one team's defending, the other team's aggressing, the first shot, it's going to be a much more accurate shot for the defenders since they're not moving all that much.
Yes, although you should take a look at the new patch notes for, 9.6? There's some changes coming to accuracy, which are going to make it so less shells land in the center and more like a small ring around the center.
Oh, it's not going to be fully normalized?
No, it's not.
Wow.
Which is going, and I need to investigate the way it is more, but I haven't seen any numbers yet on how that distribution is going to work in mathematically at all.
Yeah.
Just that I can see from experimentation where shells are landing.
That's definitely going to reduce the effectiveness of defender's advantage.
Yes, I
We'll
think
see
so.
by how much, though. I'm sure it's going to be still a small percentage that it actually affects. Probably like a 5% decrease in accuracy, just roughly thinking about it.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
a math guy, man. I have to think about it like that.
I wanted to bring this up because I realized the opportunity I had. You could then analyze the situation and try and figure out how that distribution is even conceived. Because I can understand that the standard distribution, I can study up on that, but now when you kind of shift it around, I'm trying to figure out how to interpret that and be able to work with it, and then understand it even better and take advantage.
Well, really, it comes down to the fact that we're going to, actually, an attack in the north. Hold that thought real quick, as Matt Knight will go down. And Cess is the one that's battling it out with Master Putin, also getting some help from his friends in the center line. Master Putin playing it a little bit too far ahead. Az gets a nice little track shot on Cess. He has to burn the kit and just back out of there.
Yeah, and now Putin is all alone. There is some support, and I'll say kinda. Toplim in an RU-251 is watching towards Putin, but he doesn't have the firepower to really deter any action from Timed Out. Timed Out has the ability right now, I think, to just up and over, begin an attack, wipe out a tank or two, and continue on. Their opening move to damage Vacuum was successful. They took minimal damage in that engagement, and they were able to walk away with more tanks and more hit points. So now we see RUlette trying to find some kind of advantage, but they're holding out in the open. I don't know what Yorkamolo's doing out there. I guess I understand this position, but I don't agree that it's probably the strongest for him. I think it's too easy to counter, especially once it's discovered. Putin is in a low ground. I don't think he has much to work with there. I think he should be continuing to the east and getting out of this. And now with the cap pressure, I think RUlette's inviting Timed Out to destroy them right now. Nip can go up and over if he doesn't take too much fire. If there's a heavier force coming through the middle, he's going to be able to deal with Putin. Gandorfo's just going to wipe out Putin.
Here's the important tank. The important tank right now for Timed Out. I think Cess, he's the one that needs to get cross shots on Game is Rigged and also gets shots into the cap, obviously. Gandorfo is there, obviously, on the other end too, but I think Cess 95, he just adds that extra well, he also adds that extra kill. He's able to take out Game is Rigged. But Cess is the one that's able to get that extra lane of crossfire and make it very uncomfortable for this T-32 Vacuum to do too much here, and he has to make him eventually.
His name is actually, by the way, Vacuum Tafa, and it's actually one of the Russian broadcasters. His name is only a nod to that one broadcaster. Although when you translate it from Russian to English, it kind of gets a little lost there. Right, although now we've got the big push in from Timed Out. They're taking control of the center. You see shots fired from the north and the south. Nip taking down Master Putin. And RUlette's going to start taking damage, but Uvad has found Toplim, and that means he goes down. He does not have enough health to escape or play with. Yorkamolo's going to find RUlette. That's a 1v1 that may go to Timed Out, but Az is alone. Vacuum does not have any real support. The remainder of RUlette is just fragmented, and it appears as though Timed Out is confident enough to take on their opponent.
Yep. I mean, they had over a 1,000 hit point advantage going into this fight, and with removing Game is Rigged on that top of the hill, it actually kills a lot of the advantage, the positional advantage that RUlette would ordinarily have if they're trying to cap. But caps are hard on the east side, man.
Capping
really
is just hard in this format.
Definitely hard in this format, but on the east side, especially if you're not a heavier lineup, we were talking about they're even in tanks. They're the same tank composition. If you're even, it's hard to go for the cap, so you have to look for advantages other ways. I liked how RUlette did it. They tried to do something in the north side, overmatch really quickly, but it wasn't capable because, I mean, overall, just standard solid play coming out of their opponents.
Yeah, Timed Out, I think, has a strong understanding of Prohorovka. The two maps I'd give them are Proc and probably Ruinberg. Ruinberg's not going to be seen today from them, but I think this map is something that's going to benefit them, whereas Himmelsdorf, they really suffered. I mean, when we looked at the stats earlier from Timed Out, we noticed their attacking stats were 2 and 11, and now they're not doing much better.
Yeah.
And then you continue on, their defenses weren't great on Himmelsdorf. That's not a strong map for them. You move on to Proc, this is a place where Timed Out can come back and then start to ruin RUlette's ability to make their way in the standings and the rest of the season to playoffs. This is a point where I think the match could very well turn around.
Yeah, for those of you just tuning in, remember, this is a must-win situation for RUlette. If they are not able to overcome their opponents, they're not going to be in a shot for those playoffs. Very, very stressful situation for them, especially because they have 4 more matches after today that they still need to complete. So again, must-win situation. Starting at 5 matches in, I mean, the pressure must be on. We're ready for battle number 5. They are up, or battle number 6 rather. They are up 3-2. They still have 2 defenders spots to go through, so we'll find out if they're able to get it done.
All right, for tanks, RUlette on the attack now still on the attack, has a single T-32, 1390, 3 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. On the other side, it's going to be the mirror matchup, Timed Up bringing the same thing, that single T-32 to play the anchor, and then all of these light tanks in a solid mix to give you enough tools at your disposal to respond to most situations. However, Timed Out is going with something along the lines of what they brought against Sim, which will be a completely insane, up and over in the middle, or perhaps a little variation on that as they search for a tank to focus down. Yurkamolo takes the first hits, but Nip does take some response.
All right. Wow. Really surprising here. It looks like, I mean, just by this brawl, they're going for just this trench warfare in the center of the map. I don't expect there to be any pushes over the center, just based on Matt Knight being all the way in the north side, and also Valera Desolator and Master Putin all the way on the south side, or the southwest side. They're going to start to converge. What do? Do they cross over? Do they go to the east side? What does Timed Out do in this spot?
Well, Timed Out appears to be going for a north-south split to attempt to shift east, but they're leaving BR Game Over behind, which is worrying to me because he does not have a high ground position. And where BR Game Over currently is, if RUlette figures out his exact position, they can begin to kind of just take him down a little by little from angles that Timed Out is going to have trouble responding from.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to be more in the center. As soon as he commits to the center like this, though, can he really cross over to the east side? His route is going to be going all the way to the north, right? He can't do it from the center.
That's pretty risky.
So he's kind of in a situation where he's pinned this whole game. And as you said, I want to see how they're going to defend Game Over. Now, it looks like Gandorfo is getting into position for that, if we take a look at him right now. He's gone all the way over to the south side, and he's providing that huge angle of coverage to keep him safe, stop any attacks from the south side to be placed on Game Over that well. But, you know, it's still a liability. No matter what, having a T-32 on the west side is a liability. It's going to be hard to keep him safe.
Yeah, it really is. However, Vacuum is going to take a little damage. Looks like Timed Out is positioning well to counter what RUlette's trying to bring out here, trying to weaken the positions that are the strongest and keep BR Game Over really out of the equation for a little while. Because as you can see, he's staying down in his hull down position, and while there are people firing off in his direction, Yurkamolo being one of them, Master Putin maybe in a moment, they're going to try and hold on to that T-32 for as long as possible and not get too risky, not get too aggressive. They're not going to lean on him to try and deal the damage for now. They're going to let everyone else do that, while the T-32 can wait for that opportune moment to stop the cap pressure from RUlette. Because you can see that Game is rigged, is currently in a slightly forward position for RUlette, and he's waiting until that right moment when he can cross this hill, get onto the cap, and begin searching for that weak spot.
Yeah.
And then we can have RUlette attempt to exploit the counterplay by Timed Out.
Man, if I'm Game Over in this situation, I'm actually thinking, let's not take any damage at all. He's pushing up consistently, trying to get these trades, but he has to realize time is on his side, right? Defender's advantage is on his side, and also he needs to maintain his hit points to be able to stop that cap if it ever comes up. So I really feel like Game Over trying to push over here. Yes, in general, you want your T-32 to be working for you. In general, trades are going to be good since he has a lot of hit points and he has the hold down position, but just play it safe. Stay out of harm's way. don't put nearly as many shots out. He has put only 3 so far. It's 4 minutes already.
Now, real quick, Andre, we have Master Putin Yurkomolo and Az moving across the far north for RUlette.
Yep.
We'll see if they're going to take fire, and if they can get spotted, that comes
They
down
are
to...
spotted.
Okay, and now they're going to start taking fire. Will they see any good connections, though? Timed out, doesn't look like they're able to get anything, although they have found BR Game Over at an angle which is going to be difficult for Timed Out to respond to, and he is burning down. So many hit points left. Gandorfo is coming up and over. They may trade this one out for Yurkomolo. Yes, they will, but is that really worth it in this situation?
They're so scared right now because game is rigged, and Tono are putting in really nice crossfires and helping them out. So 5 tanks really committed to the north side. What's going on in the south side where there should be an overmatch?
Well, to the south, we're looking at a little distance between the members of RUlette and Timed Out. Little damage being dealt. Matt Knight, Nip, and Roel have lost about half of their hit points each, and Valera is just now taking the first connection. Vacuum, slightly forward. So it's still evening out. While RUlette has more hit points, Timed Out is getting a stronger position. They're going to have the high ground while RUlette has to go for this cap.
Yeah, I mean, we can really see the openings hurting Timed Out here. The fact that they have the T-32 in no man's land, what can they really do off of that? Not much. And they eventually lose that tank, and they're behind in this game. Still, I mean, don't count them out right now because Nip 100 is going to get some good shots, not only on Cap, but potentially on Vacuum. Couple of trades.
Although Nip, Matt Knight moving up, that's going to stop the Cap. In the north, I think that holding on a little longer as Timed Out is going to benefit them. But with Toplum coming in and him starting an engagement against Matt Knight, that could result in a kill. It should result in a kill, of course, but if it results in a kill in favor of RUlette, they can hold on to this one. I think they can start coming back. But if Matt Knight is able to take down Toplum, I think from there, RUlette is just going to fall apart. But this, I think, might be a risky move from RUlette. They're going to send everyone who was on Cap up and across the south.
And they're trying to overmatch the south where they are weak. In the meantime, the north side is going to be targeted down. It looks like actually Cess and Uvad weren't able to actually clear everything up. Now, are they going to lose this overmatch in the north side?
It's over. I mean,
Oh
Timed
my
Out has lost. Valera getting the final kill.
If they were able to stay alive there, maybe not even attack, they could have just ran away. It was only 32 seconds left in the battle. It's very tough. I do realize that, you know, it's still enough time for them to cap with 3 tanks on Cap, but I almost feel like you should have ran away at that point. I thought that the north side should have gone to top tier, not top tier, Timed Out, but it just didn't work that way.
It really should have. I think the focus fire was the big problem here. I think Timed Out did not focus fire at all effectively, and you can see how 2 tanks are left alive with hit points, and they're able to continue firing, which is why they were able to keep up in damage.
Yeah.
Timed Out messed up on this one.
It was 3v2 on the top side, so it wasn't overmatched, and those guys are master gunners, that's for sure. Just really, really nice battle buddies over there.
Yeah, it really, I think this one was a situation where you had both teams in very delicate positions. RUlette should have been the team to lose, I think, from the standpoint of if you remove the fact that it was RUlette, remove the fact that it's Timed Out, that just as a position, just a tank line out, as you solve the problem, you should see that RUlette should lose. But they didn't. They played it better. Timed Out made mistakes, and RUlette was able to pick up on every single one and exploit it in the right amount of time, getting off Cap and heading to the south with a few extra tanks, using the M41 in the right time, at the right place, and also missed shots from Timed Out where RUlette was making them count. So fundamentals in that respect.
That's right.
Just threw everything off, and that's why RUlette's able to play that much better in that
I mean, it was barely any time they had for that last one to win. 30 seconds, I mean, that's not a lot of time. We do have to be critical on the T-32 being left in the west side. I mean, that's just a tank waiting to die eventually. Was that initial run the best run they could have done with that T-32? Obviously, I'm going to say no. They should have gone over the east side. But nevertheless, we're going to move on into our next battle of the day. Battle number 7.
And looking at the tanks, RUlette will be bringing 2 T-32s this time, 3 RU-251s, and Walker Bulldogs. Now, Timed Out, single 1390, 4 RU-251s, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. highly mobile from Timed Out. I'm expecting just crazy up and over in the middle. They're going to target the T-32s, or they're going to target the light tanks that come to meet them and then run when the T-32s show up. It'll be whichever they run into first, but this is exactly what they brought against Simp, and I think RUlette is expecting this.
I honestly don't mind this at all if they go over to the east side directly after this and try to overmatch, but it doesn't look like that's the case. They're just going to brawl right now. Brawls doesn't look good, especially with game is rigged being in that vantage point all the way over in A6.
And is going way in the favor of RUlette. They're focus firing and making those connected shells. Gandorfo is sitting too far out. Nip tries to go up alone, and you're seeing these one at a time tanks from Timed Out moving up, and they're going to get focus fired because of it. Now the T-32s from RUlette have joined the fight. With that, they can just continue up and over right into the light tanks below. I don't think they have to worry too much about what's there because Timed Out is about to just collapse.
Yeah, I mean, you do not want to be trading like this against a heavier lineup. That's just how it is. Now they're going to go in for the last-ditch effort, but things are not looking good. 7 tanks still alive for RUlette. They might lose Tono pretty soon here, but even him, he's... oh, no, they do lose him. Matt Knight will take that kill, but that's as much as they're going to get here. Yurkamolo is a little bit low, but it looks like he will be saved.
And then game over. Far East taking on Az. It's going to go down to Vacuum. And now Matt Knight is the only tanker left alive in his 1390.
Ah, poor guy. And of course, this is the match point in this best of 9. 5 minutes and 12 seconds left. And down he goes. Winner of the match is going to be RUlette. Congratulations to them. They're one step closer to making it to the playoffs. Remember, they need to win every single one after this. Thankfully for them, Noble did lose the match previous to this match number 2. So they Noble was actually 13th place. RUlette was 14th place, so they can have a little bit more room to work up and get to that 10th place spot where they need to make to the playoffs.
Yes, I think that RUlette played much better today as well. I think this is finally where they're starting to figure out how to play in this meta. I think Timed Out being an opponent which has been such high profile lately was beneficial for them. They had a lot of footage to work on. They had tactics and strategies that were very comprehensible that they could come up with their own counters or at least be prepared for. And Timed Out brought a lot of what they usually bring. They did innovate at times, but their innovation was not successful. Their normal strategies were what saw the most success, and when they attempted them, sometimes they didn't work because their opponent was too well prepared.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of, I guess, theory problems coming out of Timed Out with just them pushing over, with light tanks, having brawls with light tanks, with a lighter lineup. Just on paper, you have to look at it and say, is a brawl advantageous for me or not? And a lot of these situations, it wasn't the case, and they need to rethink on how they want to engage. Sometimes it is good to overmatch, sometimes it's not. Also, we saw a clear problem with their brawling. This is good, though. These are all things, tangible things that they can work on to get better, and they know what they need to accomplish for next season.
Exactly. I think we've covered everything about Timed Out and RUlette for this one. We'll have to see how they go in the future.
All right, boys and girls, our marquee matchup of tonight is going to be our next match, Elevate versus Hammer Time. This is a must-win spot for Hammer Time as they want to maintain their second place spot. We'll be back in a little bit. You're watching the WGLNA.